Hey everybody, so check out Eric Swalwell here, showing everyone what a great family man he is. Wonder what conversation took place here.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Hey ladies, want to see a man weeping as he masturbates? Things are great, aren't they? Cigarette companies are more honest than Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, the CDC, the WHO, and our government. You know what? The people who question nothing about the vaccinations and the motivations behind it are going to be really depressed when we finally learn the unvarnished truth. Like, really depressed. And it's too bad because they'll need antidepressants, only that doesn't work either. Only now we're just learning the unvarnished truth about those.
Scientists have believed depression is linked to lower levels of serotonin in the brain. That belief has shaped treatment and helped create a multi-billion-dollar market for antidepressant drugs. But it may be wrong. According to research published in the journal Molecular Psychiatry, there is no convincing evidence that problems with serotonin actually cause depression.
Tom Cruise deserves an apology over this one.
There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. That these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs.
Turns out it's perfectly okay to question Scientology and to question heavily financially incentivized science, too.
Clearly, you've done the homework.
It would be even more impressive if Tom Cruise stopped and said, Matt, why don't you tell me about the button under your desk, Matt? That button that traps women inside your office. Why don't you tell me all about that? I've done my research on you, Matt. I know everything. It's interesting to see that in Wuhan, they are yet again locking down with another case of...
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's right. I don't care anymore. Fauci is still playing games about the lab leak theory. It might have come from the Wuhan lab. He has a, quote, open mind about it.
So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle.
Trump made that call about the lab leak in April of 2020. A few days later, Fauci gave a public interview with Nat Geo expressly to refute what Trump had said, claiming that all signs pointed to it being naturally occurring. So when it mattered most to have an open mind, Fauci somehow didn't. And Fauci wasn't alone. Social media also didn't have an open mind. If you expressed the opinion that it was from a lab, you're a freak. You're Tom Cruise in 2005. Only you're a lot uglier and poorer. You might be inclined to gloss over that. Shrug it off as no biggie. Yeah, don't. This general pattern has been all over the place. Fauci gave intellectual cover so that the obvious conclusion literally could not be expressed in the public square. That should scare the hell out of you. But not to worry, a year later you could say it. I mean, we're not some banana republic, are we? Remember when they told you to lock down, stay put, avoid crowds? Unless you're protesting for Black Lives Matter. Remember that? Yeah, that was funny.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection, and I think we overplayed the vaccines, and it made people then worry that it's not going to protect against severe disease and hospitalization. It will, but let's be very clear. 50% of the people who died from the Omicron surge were older, vaccinated.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection. Really, Deborah Birx? But somehow you forgot to mention that as people were being fired from their jobs for not taking this on the premise that if they took it, they would never be infected?
Tucker is correct, but there's even more to that. Consider that Fauci and Deborah Birx overplayed the vaccine. First, that's a forgiving word. Overplay is code for lying, selling you miracle cures, snake oil salesman stuff. Scientists are not supposed to be salesmen. They're supposed to be the facts people, the dry robotic types. Birx Fauci overplaying laid the groundwork for leftist tyrants to overplay, for schools to overplay, for the masses to be an overplay army. And also, the overplaying hasn't stopped. This is a crime that just keeps on getting repeated and repeated. There's no arrest, no trial, no judgment, and no remorse, and no lesson. So the crime gets repeated. Quick word, everybody. I hate to say it, but this might be my last video. I'm kind of evaluating, so please, if you do like the content, please like, subscribe, pass it around. Biden got COVID and then he got COVID again. They were very quick to disclose that. Kind of wish they were more forthcoming about other issues. Like his mental state and why Joe recently gave a speech where he didn't blink for 45 seconds. That's kind of weird. I don't think a president should look like a possessed doll. Can we see the report on President Annabelle here? Thank goodness we can all rely on Kamala though. Joe can't blink and Kamala can't speak. Look how she's clasping her hands here. You know what she's actually doing? She's praying for words. Then again, maybe Kamala's just a performance artist, like Andy Kaufman. The way she articulates like a toddler trying to explain how the lamp broke, making the audience all uncomfortable. See, the buffoonery is the joke. It's all on purpose, right?
Oh my gosh. Boy, not only was I wrong, down 0.9%.
So we're officially in recession? Oh no, we're not, says the left. Why? Because we said. Oh, but I thought, no, you're wrong.
A recession has been defined, 2 successive quarters of negative GDP growth.
Yeah, I agree that for many people, even though it's not the accurate definition.
Well, a recession is 2 quarters in a row of negative growth. I don't think we're going to have that.
The fact that the mainstream media is doing a rethink on this whole recession thing tells you everything you need to know about them if you have the stomach to pay attention. They're not, quote, lying. They're just redefining. They've even redefined the word definition. Saying recession is like misgendering. You see, Biden identifies as a great president with a great economy. Don't say recession, that's extremely econophobic. You see, they've had 2 quarters, that's 6 months to come up with this stuff. You give them enough time, they'll come up with the whole Orwellian bullshit thesaurus. Now that Biden's at all-time lows in approval and all-time highs in disapproval, I'm waiting for these words to be screwed with too. No, it's not real disapproval, it's technical disapproval. Notice the Trump numbers, by the way. Pretty good when you consider that he was facing a firing squad of media every day.
All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Oh, you don't say, Jane Goodall, another World Economic Forum thinker. We have too much population, which is why we really need to have a quiet genocide. Listening to these World Economic Forum types makes me think of a Thomas Sowell quote.
Some of the biggest cases of mistaken identity are among intellectuals who have trouble remembering that they are not God.
So to fight the inflation problem, we have the Inflation Reduction Gaslight Insult Your Intelligence Act. Here's a little preview of what it's going to do with inflation. It's Thelma and Louise, only this time they go off the cliff with an electric car. All this green energy crap brings another Thomas Sowell quote to mind.
It is hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong.
No time for debate, no time to convince. We just need to do it. Our energy policy is so left, I'm surprised it doesn't have its own pronouns. It's green, 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 and a ton of windmills. Hey, you know what? That's great. Go play some mini golf then, okay? And leave the gas station alone. This is such garbage. You still have to get the electricity from fossil fuel. So you're just making everything more expensive. We don't have the electric grid for your dreams. I'm really looking forward to all those blackouts so America can look like an aerial shot of North Korea. But it's to save the planet. Even though COVID proves just how hypocritical and insane they are. You think maybe they're overplaying it? Let's just trust them with even more complicated stuff like the Earth's temperature. Just like with Big Pharma and COVID, there can't possibly be any corrupt financial incentives, can there? We need to cut back, everyone. The beach house people are really alarmed. We all just have to live with less and cut back and do our share. Because we're being too selfish. As polls keep telling us, we don't really care that much about climate change. Not as much as they'd like us to care about it. Most people care about the economy. So this is what's going to happen. Right now we have inflation from all the money printing. The Fed has raised the interest rates to make the easy money a little harder to get. That's what's causing a recession. And also all the backward policies. So you can't have both. If you want to curb inflation, you're going to have a recession. So with this $700 billion printapalooza, they've chosen inflation. So get ready for hyperinflation. But if it happens, don't worry, the government and the media will just redefine it. It'll just be technical hyperinflation. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe. Be sure to pass around to anybody who might like my content. And I'll see you the next time.